Quotes that I live by in my life would be preparation plus opportunity equals success. Begin with the end in mind. And criticize through creation. The way I was brought up, or the way that my parents really raised all three of their kids, was around a few different things. One was faith, and then the second was education, and then the third was sports. On the one hand, with my dad, he always had me around business leaders and pastors, and he was the executive director for Promise Keepers, which was a national men's movement. And I remember being in the golf cart with him, driving around the Kingdom and these different stadiums and meeting all these different influential leaders. And then on the business side, my mom would take me into the bank with her, and I would get to sit with her all day and kind of learn how she did things. And those kind of two things were things that ended up shaping really how my work life and career ended up turning out. Basketball was my dream. I wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to get drafted into the NBA, and I worked for that. The first goal that I had set was to get a Division I scholarship, which I was able to accomplish, but the work ethic that was instilled through sports, and for me particularly basketball, was something that has created the longevity that I've had in American income. I used to get up at 4:30 in the morning every single morning, and I would work out with my trainer. Then I would go to school. Then I would leave school. Then I would go to the gym and get shots up, and then I would go to sleep. And I would do that 6-7 days a week, and I did that since the 8th grade. What I've loved about sports has been that it was very translatable to sales. And it was very translatable to American income life, where you practice and you work, and then you get on the court or you get in the field and you're able to reap the results of it. And that is the way that I approached the business from the very beginning. Before AO, I was pursuing basketball. I was trying to get to the league, doing all of that, and then I came back for the summer and needed a job. My father knew Mr. Altig, and I ended up being able to get a job, and my first job actually ever with the company was in the call center. And I was in the call center every single day and needed to make extra money, and went and asked James Hill, and I was able to become a janitor. And it just so happened I was downstairs on a break, and I walked by a room, and all I heard was people dialing on the phone and calling. And that's when I ran into Andrew Bishop, and I asked him one very simple, fateful question, if you will, and that was, how much money do you make? Long story short, I ended up getting licensed. Andrew Bishop gave me my first tank of gas to go into the field, and I remember being in this situation to where I'm eating grilled cheese and tomato soup every day. And so I walk into Mr. Altig's office and I'm like, Mr. Altig, long story short, basically, can you just cut me a check? And I get this like butterflies in my stomach and all this stuff, and he goes, you know, Andrew, I could definitely do that. And I'm like, yes, but I'm not going to. And I was like, no. And he's like, because I'm just telling you, 1 week in the field can change everything. And that was probably one of the best lessons I ever learned, because my first week I wrote $11,000 of production, and I learned that from the very first week. The only way you lose in this business is if you quit. Meaning that everybody that's successful in this company are the people that stay. And as long as you stay, and as long as you don't quit, it's not a get rich quick, it's a get rich for sure.
Leader of the lions, pick of the litter. Against the strongest, I'm alive and remain a victor. My battle scars that show that I am far from a quitter. Went through it all and I'm still striving, that makes me a winner. When it's me versus the globe, with my back to the wall, when at my lowest of lows. Still I put up a brawl, was never in me to fold, never in me to fall. So when my story is told, they'll say I gave it my all.
To say there hasn't been multiple times that I felt like giving up would be an understatement. I think that's a part of our business. I think that's really more so a part of life. In my life, it happened very early on. I lost my grandfather, my father, and my brother in a 1.5 year period of time. I was 23 years old. My grandfather was just, old. He died of natural causes, but my dad died in his sleep at 49, and my brother died on his 29th birthday in his sleep. And so during those times for me, I for sure felt like giving up. I for sure felt like quitting. I for sure didn't even feel like talking about death every single day, to people. But it was one of those things that again just rung in my head about not quitting and persevering. And I have to say about this company, and by this company I mean AO, was the time in my life where I realized that it wasn't just about the work, that I was family. And when my brother passed, the first call that I received, I was on a road trip in Virginia, and you go to those areas where you don't have cell phone reception, and all of a sudden I get back to an area where you get some bars and my phone's ringing off the hook and buzzing and text messages and all that stuff. But the first actual phone call that came through was Mr. Altig. And he's the person that told me to pull over the car, and he's the one that actually told me that my brother had passed away. And consequently, in that time frame, within maybe 6 hours, the company had flown me on a plane back to my family, had completely wrapped their arms around me in that time. What kept me going through all of the kind of tragedy and the trials and tribulations really was, something my mom said to me when my father passed, which was, "This isn't gonna stop us." A lot of times when grief and life happens, you can have all the excuses in the world why you don't do something, and they're valid, right? And a lot of people would empathize or sympathize with you on why you made certain decisions or actions or things like that. She really just sat me down and said, "Andrew, you need to go for it." And that's what I did. Starting from being in the call center and a janitor to the company to becoming the director of public relations is somewhat of a leap, if you will. It's just been one of those things where I think that the experience that I've had has been something that's happened throughout the entirety of my career. My daughter has been the single biggest impact in my life since she's been born. I mean, you have a daughter, and it's your daughter, right? And you want the best for them, and you want to be an example. Probably my favorite stories about my daughter that applies to the business would be the month that I was going for Gold Club, which was to write over and gross over $50,000 of production in a month, which I'd never done before. And so I actually had her make like the 50, 60 service folders with me. I had her spread out all the stuff on the counter, and you're the one that's gonna hold me accountable. You need to ask me how many people I saw, how many referrals I collected, how much AOP I wrote, and we're gonna mark it off the calendar each time until we hit the goal. And she was right there every single day with me that July in 2018, and it was one of the proudest moments to be able to get that plaque and show her that we accomplished the goal. Opportunity Unlimited has always been who American Income is and who we will always be, but I feel and I believe that Opportunity Unlimited has never been more unlimited than it is now. From going from the point to where I was mapping out leads on a physical map using a Tomless guide and not having internet on my phone and having to ask people who their doctor is and they pull out a phone book to be able to look it up, to moving to booking appointments in the palm of my hand and navigating to appointments and doing all these different things, to now being in a position to where I can work from home, work in any part of the country that I want to, in any time zone that I want to. I mean, come on, the opportunity has never been more unlimited than it is now.
I think we got it, unless there's anything else you can think of.
No, I was super dope at basketball, and I'm super dope in the insurance industry.
Yeah. There you go.